We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast, episode number 101. Welcome to the We Make Movies podcast, making the world a better place one film at a time. And now, here are your hosts, three aspiring sellouts, Chad, Michelle, and Garrett. Welcome to the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. Podcast all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. It wouldn't be the new year if our intro wasn't inaccurate. our intro wasn't inaccurate. Yeah, it's a double negative, but whatever.
Many negatives.
So many of the negatives.
All the negatives.
And you know, this show is like generally pretty negative influence, I would say. I'm your host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as always, faithful co-host Chad Kukihiko. Not with us this week, Michelle Lucadou. Apparently, she's traveling for work. Air quotes.
In Miami, conning small children to come to her school. Not small children, but whatever, high school students.
Hello, little boy. Don't you work for a college? Come to Relativity.
I think it's mostly girls, actually. She's it's the like dance program. She cool. Helps recruit nubile. I don't know. So yeah,
that got weird real quick. Boy,
here we are.
Welcome. First show of the new year. Welcome to 2016.
Yes,
hello, everyone. We haven't changed. Oh boy,
it's been sorry for the late start. It was technical issues galore.
Massive technical issues. I just got out of town, and actually, this is weird. It's just the first in a long line of weird things. But I had turned my computer off when I left, and it was on when I came back into my office, which was like the first sign something was wrong. And then it was just running like absolute shit. So gnomes probably snuck in while I was gone, and
gremlins.
Yeah, gremlins. And, as Chad was saying, tons of goat porn just downloading everywhere.
That's it. It clogs up the pipes.
And what is it about goat porn specific? I don't know what it is, but it's definitely
I don't either.
Regular, just like regular old
vanilla
variety vanilla porn. Nothing. You're
hardcore. Nothing on goat porn.
Your BDSM,
yes.
Horses even, no problem. Goats, everything's a big fucking deal. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So
that's a great start to the show.
Yes, absolutely. Would you like to continue with the spiel so we can?
Yes. So if you are watching this live, we're sorry, and feel free to comment on the YouTube channel. Although that's probably not working because Google Hangouts is still being a little thingy. Or you can just tweet us at #WeMakeMovies, and we will respond to your questions live.
Yes, I promise.
Yes, Chad promises. I promise nothing. I promise nothing.
You'll get nothing like it.
Oh, you know what? I didn't do the segments while we were sorting all that out, so I'm going to do that on the fly. And Chad, you're up first.
I am up first. My computer is telling me that it's about to restart in 5 minutes, and I don't know how to shut this off. So this could be bad. If it does happen, I am going to save the link, so I will just jump right back on. I have no idea what is going on today. Craziness. Okay, so anyway, let me see if I can get away with this. The interesting article in Variety this week about how Netflix uses this a pretty intense testing process to decide which images to use to promote their shows amongst their subscribers. They take about like a half dozen images, then they take a subset of the group of the target audience for that show, and then they test it with that subset. They test all 6 of these images, and based on the results of those 6 images, they pick one to then use for the rest of that target audience. And they have done this over 150 times now, and they have basically calculated that they have increased watching of these shows 20 to 30%. So any show that they are using this testing process on, it helps 20 to 30% more people will watch it compared to shows where they don't use this process. So really interesting. You know, everything that, and we've been in the past, we told everybody about YouTube, making sure that if you have a YouTube, back when we cared about YouTube, we were telling people to make sure that your thumbnail was really good. So
I care about you, YouTube. Don't listen to him.
I still do, but we don't really post there as much as we used to. Anyway,
I do.
Thumbnails, images, it helps. So there you have it.
I really wish that YouTube would let me A/B test different thumbnails, because that would be awesome. I just kind of do my one thumbnail on my YouTube videos, and boy, that would be really cool if you could do a few different ones and just leave up the one that performs the best.
Also, if you had like staff to like test these things and analytics and all that stuff, I'm sure.
And just a lot more money. I mean, as long as we're just listing things off, let's just
right. Well, all of that is money. I mean,
yes,
basically,
that's true.
If you think about it, that's what it comes down to.
It's turning money into more money, like magic.
Yes.
All right, so I'll get right back onto the geeky. Since the last show we did in 2015, we did an entire episode on the Force Awakens. And if you're a listener, then you hopefully enjoyed that. I enjoyed it tremendously. I listened back to it. I liked it a lot.
Yes.
I just want to revisit one thing about the Force Awakens really quick. Actually, my second segment is also about Star Wars. So, yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed. It's an obsessive part of my life now. But there has been a Wikipedia article created called "List of Box Office Records Set by Star Wars: The Force Awakens," and it only lists records that The Force Awakens has broken. It's fucking awesome. It's really, really impressive. So far, there are 115 broken records on the page.
Wow.
So some of them are like less notable, like less like, oh my god, like one of them was biggest IMAX Saturday, like the Saturday after a film release, like the biggest thing on IMAX. So whatever, it's a world record. But here are my like top notable ones that I think are really awesome. It's the fastest film ever to gross 1 billion worldwide, and it did it in 12 days.
Damn.
The previous record was Jurassic World, which did it in 13 days. And like here's the thing: I thought Jurassic Park was like semi-enjoyable, but like not even that great. So yeah. I'm really glad that Force Awakens just came really quick and just knocking it out of all of these spots. It's like, no more. Sorry.
I didn't know Jurassic World had broken all these records. Like, what? Oh, yeah. What? That's so insulting. I mean,
it was the biggest opening weekend ever. It had the biggest opening weekend of all time.
How? It was not that good of a movie. Like,
I don't know. It's Star Wars had the biggest worldwide opening weekend, knocked Jurassic World out of that one. It is the highest grossing Star Wars film of all time. Previously, that was The Phantom Menace, which came out and everybody was like, oh my God. And then the next two happened and they were like, nope. Nope.
Right.
Nope.
I would love to see that graph. Like, you know what I mean? Like, gross, but it has to be corrected for
adjusted for inflation. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that's what I want to see. I bet it's like boom, boop, 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 boop. Like, I bet I'd like to see that.
Yeah, very much so. Speaking, a really quick side note. I'm not done with the list yet, but really quick side note. Me and my kids have started watching the Clone Wars, that animated TV show that was put out in between the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a great show. It's really good.
Yeah, I've kind of watched it. I've watched a few episodes. I mean, it's like a kid's show.
It's a kid's show.
A kid's show, yeah.
But it's a good kid's show. It reminds me, in terms of quality level, it reminds me of Batman, the animated series, which was it was a great, really solid animated TV show that had a few moments that were like really, really good, and then just a general show that was just it's eminently.
Later in the show, I have news about more animation on Netflix.
Yes.
I won't get into it now, but why don't you get back and then
I'll finish my list. So it is the highest grossing Disney release ever. Not really surprising, I guess, since it's, it is the United States highest grossing film of all time in the US. I imagine it will very quickly reach that worldwide. It just finally hit China. It's the US highest grossing film of all time. And it's the biggest in terms of how many screens it released on, and the highest grossing IMAX film of all time. So
hold on, because it was not in more theaters, it was in more IMAX theaters, right? That's what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay,
because we
right,
did a segment before about how it was actually on less theaters than The Phantom Menace.
Right.
But it was on more IMAX theaters and was highest grossing in IMAX than any film that's ever been shown in IMAX.
Wow.
So basically, we've all been witness to the rebirth of a cultural phenomenon. And on behalf of J.J. Abrams and team, you're welcome.
You know, speaking of films, since that's what we do, I just realized, and I didn't plan on talking about this, but I saw on Friday night, I found like last minute tickets.
Yes.
At the ArcLight, they were playing Mad Max Fury Road.
I saw this post on Facebook. Oh my God.
And the director was there to do a little Q&A afterwards, and he was he's a really cool guy, and I loved watching. I've seen the film 3 times now. The first time I saw it was obviously amazing. Second time I saw it with somebody who had not seen it yet, which is awesome. And then on Friday it was the same situation. And when you see it with somebody who's never seen it, especially if you're in the theater watching it, it's almost like you haven't seen it before, because you hear them freak out. It was so much fun. It's so much fun to see. But then it's really amazing. I mean, that guy's, I didn't know he did Babe and Happy Feet. Yeah. And then he won Oscars and whatnot. For like, the guy's incredibly accomplished. But it was great to hear the whole story, like the story of how the original Mad Max, not even Road Warrior, before but like he had to, they were cutting on celluloid. They were like cutting, and he had to teach himself how to edit because they ran out of money, and he edited that himself. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they were talking about how he was cutting the film in the kitchen, and then somebody else, whoever was doing the sound in the living room.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So Netflix.
Yeah. So okay, good. Yeah. So now it's my time to talk about that animation. So I just teased it. So here it is. Netflix has apparently greenlit 2 animated series with DreamWorks Animation as the production company. One of them is a reboot of Voltron. What? And the other is called Troll Hunters, and Guillermo del Toro will be directing. And I didn't actually know this at all until I read this article, but Netflix and DreamWorks, they've already teamed up a few different times with animated kids shows that apparently have done pretty well. But these 2 movies or series, I'm not sure whether, I think they're probably series. These seem to be skewing older. More mainstream, and I'm sure they're going to be a bit more expensive too. Voltron and Troll Hunters are currently scheduled to come out in 2016, but no word yet as to the exact time in 2016. So keep an eye out. Quick side note, by the way, they've also released the release date for Daredevil 2. It's going to be airing on March 18th. The teaser is basically a lot of repurposed sound clips from the first series over some really interesting animation. So it gives absolutely nothing away for series 2. But March 18th, get your time off requests in now if you plan on binging it like I do. And again, I have no idea what this is about. I'm on the fence about whether I should search. Probably for you guys, I should search. But for me as a fan, I kind of want to go into it without knowing too much. But I also am curious if Luke Cage or Jessica Jones are going to show up, if they're going to make some kind of appearance. I imagine they must if this is building to the Defenders. But, anyway, we'll see. I'm very, very excited about that. Uh-oh. I cannot hear you. You are muted.
I muted myself because I was turning down my microphone because it was blasting out a little bit. Freaked you out a little bit there, didn't I?
You did freak me out.
Yes. Anyway, I at least cameos from the 2 of them.
You're gonna have to repeat that because you sort of remuted yourself for like a half second in the middle of that sentence.
Oh yeah, because I started typing. Because Hangouts has a thing where if you type, it mutes your microphone. But then they turned that off. They turned that feature off and said, if you want to mute your microphone, we're not going to do it automatically. And then they turned it back on.
Yeah. So what did you just say?
I hope we are going to get a Jessica Jones and Luke Cage cameo in the new Daredevil. I kept hoping that we would get a Daredevil cameo.
Me too.
Jessica Jones.
Oh, I was so hoping.
Yeah,
but
then they did the Night Nurse, and
yes,
you know, okay, yeah, so it was good. It was fine.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, please bring them in. Bring them in.
Yes, please.
Okay. Have you heard this story about Hasbro?
I have. Yes. It's pretty. Why don't you tell the people? Tell
these guys about these guys and girls. Everybody listening. Okay, so Hasbro has a really long, unfortunate history of excluding female characters from their toy lines. They put out the Avengers toy line without Black Widow, and they put out the Guardians of the Galaxy without Gamora, and there's the list goes on. There's a ton of things where this has happened, where they release a toy line and that whatever female character, because there's usually only one, gets left out. Every time in the past, they've excused this by saying, well, but those are side characters. You know, they're not the main characters. You know, Black Widow and Gamora and everything.
I didn't know this part of it. I just, when I saw it, it just made no sense to me, but
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
So there. Oh well, it's a side character. I mean, you know, Black Widow isn't there. No, never mind the fact that they made a Hawkeye, and like Black Widow is like at least as useful or as useless as Hawkeye, right? Probably more since she's in more movies. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. So they put out their Star Wars toy line, and they left out Rey. They left out Rey, the main character. They made a complete toy set of their Force Awakens toys. In the toy set, in the complete toy set is Finn, makes sense. Poe Dameron, makes sense. What's his face? Kylo Ren, obviously. A nameless TIE fighter pilot and a nameless stormtrooper, and no Rey. What? I mean, obviously they didn't include Phasma, which is Gwendoline Christie's character, even though you can't tell she's a woman because she's got the stormtrooper armor on and she never even takes her mask off. So after they put this out, they were immediately and understandably sort of like struck by backlash. And Hasbro said, they actually said, this was their PR statement, they didn't want to reveal Rey's plot line, which is that she goes on a journey from to join the rebellion. And they said the rebellion, not the resistance. The rebellion is the one from the original films. The resistance is the one from the new film. So these people are fucking clueless. And aside from the fact that this excuse is pants-shittingly stupid and makes no sense, because putting a Rey figurine in your Monopoly set, which they did not do, that doesn't tell us anything about her plot. It doesn't tell us that she's joining the resistance. It's fucking stupid. And they put Finn in the same Monopoly set, and he has the same storyline of joining the resistance. Like, that's what they said they didn't want to reveal, was that she joined the resistance. Sorry, they didn't say that. They said rebellion. Anyway, after they put out this PR statement trying to defend themselves, J.J. Abrams just came out and said that basically that's total bullshit. Like, he said, like, this is crap. Why wouldn't she be there? She's the main character of the film. This is dumb. No, Disney did not put a muzzle order on Hasbro to like make them not make Rey toys, which is what Hasbro was like trying to say. So it's a shitty, stupid PR move by a shitty, stupid company who has antiquated ideas about making toys for girls. So Hasbro can just go F themselves officially.
The one that I saw actually had Finn and Kylo Ren. And then it had Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
Yeah. That's the Force Awakens Monopoly set.
What the hell?
Yep.
So weird. And not even like the old... I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to tease it. Because I'd have to I'd have to give a spoiler alert on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, never mind what I said because
okay, this is something that's in the trailer. So like tiny minor spoiler, but if you've seen the trailer, you know this. Darth Vader's not in the Force Awakens. He has a piece in the Monopoly set. He's not in the movie. Anyway.
Yes. And if you haven't seen Return of the Jedi by now, you probably...
It's because he's dead! Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty ridiculous.
I
concur.
Yeah, I got into a Facebook. I try not to go on Facebook, and this is exactly why. I happened to go on Facebook to do something on my professional page. I saw that article, I shared it, and I said, "This is bullshit." Got into a whole argument with somebody about it, and oh man, that's why I don't do Facebook. That's why I do not do Facebook anymore, because anyway. Main topics, Chad.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about your main topic, and I'm just going to chime in when I feel it's appropriate.
So this is actually kind of related to stuff that we've discussed in the past. I just think, anyway, I want to talk about creating sort of win-win situations. This is, and by the way, for any of you who haven't watched the show in a while, we've kind of changed the way that we're doing sort of our main topics now. Instead of diving into a specific thing that's not necessarily related to filmmaking. Instead, what we're doing nowadays is we're actually kind of talking about stuff that we've done so that we actually can kind of share not just stuff that we've done, most importantly, stuff that we've learned so that we can share that.
And anything that we're working on and what we're doing on it and things that we're sort of learning along the way.
Yeah, so that if we are learning stuff, and hopefully we are as we make films, we can share that with you guys. So
I don't need to learn anything. I'm perfect.
Me too. anyway, so I want to talk about creating win-win situations, because you read a lot about creating these win-win situations in books that are about sales or about business, but you almost never read about them in books about filmmaking or whenever people talk about filmmaking. I just very, very rarely hear it. And a win-win situation, in case you don't really know, it's sort of a proposition between two different parties in which both sides are getting what they want. So it's a win for both sides. One way I've heard it described actually is a deal in which both sides feel like they're kind of getting the better part of the deal. That is the best kind of win-win situation, when both people think that they're kind of getting one up on the other. When both sides feel that, then you know you've hit a sort of a win-win. And like I said, back in the early days of this podcast, we used to talk about this kind of thing a bit now and then, but like I was about to say, it bears repeating. And my outlook on it has definitely grown, because as we make movies is starting to grow, we're starting to get these opportunities to create win-win situations, because we have stuff that's of value now, finally, to kind of share with other people. I think it's so important for indie filmmakers to take this into account, because our resources are always so very limited. I mean, very, very, very few of us are outrageously wealthy who are able to throw, a few $1 million at a project every couple years. I mean, if you are that wealthy, you really don't need to be listening.
And shoot us an email immediately. We have several fine scripts that you would love to produce.
Yes, absolutely. But even moderately wealthy people, even not the hugely, top 1% of 1%, but even moderately wealthy people couldn't afford. They just don't have the liquid capital to fund, a ton of indie films. So anyway, everybody else needs friends. And we need to be pretty decent at making deals, creating situations in which everybody who's part of the thing is getting something valuable out of it. Otherwise, you just burn bridges. Yeah. And your filmmaker career will basically last as long as you're able to continue to meet and trick people to work on a single project with you. If you're good at meeting and tricking people, maybe it'll extend a little bit longer. But otherwise, it's
worked for me. So I mean,
well, listen, knowing what other people want and having the ability to align what they want with what you want is really what creating win-win situations are all about. And like I was saying, we make movies is kind of finding ourselves in these situations, because we've been doing what we are doing for a number of years now. As a community, we've made dozens and dozens of films. I mean, we basically average 24 shorts every year that we screen at WMM Fest. And that's not even counting the occasional feature that we're, some of them, it's much more sort of tangentially, we just kind of help out a little bit. But some of them, it's really, I mean, some of these shorts we funded almost 24 short films. And we have now also funded an episodic. And then this year, not a lot of people know this, but we're going to be the main production company behind a $500,000 cable show. I'm not going to say which network it is, but we're going to be producing that. We're also
heard it here first, kids.
Yes, we're going to be producing. Well, we already did actually. We produced the pilot. We're going to be trying to to promote that pilot to see if we can get the rest of the funds to do the entire series. It's a sitcom, kind of in the vein, I think, in the vein of like Kimmy Schmidt. And, you know, needless to say, this is a pretty substantial track record. And our extremely active filmmaking community has become attractive to certain brands. So we were, you know, sponsored all through 2014 by Microsoft Surface. And now that we're self-sufficient, now that we actually don't need a sponsorship, that even adds to our value even more to these different brands. But how do we make partnerships that don't damage our community, that don't exploit our community and then sort of damage it? How do we create win-win situations to allow these brands to organically come in and help us do what we want to do and our community do what they want to do, while also giving them something that they want out of it? Well, and this, by the way, is just an example so that you can see very specifically. I mean, hopefully you'll be able to make correlations between, you know, things that you want to do. So anyway, the first thing that we have to do to work with brands in an organic way is we first of all have to find brands that we like. You know what I mean? Brands that we actually use. And nothing against Microsoft Surface, but the truth is prior to that deal, I mean, none of us really had Surfaces. I didn't know a single one of us. So it wasn't something that we were already familiar with. It wasn't something we were already using. Not to say anything bad about the product, but it just wasn't sort of an organic fit like some others are. There are plenty of brands that we use, though. There are brands that we use that are actually good for the community that we already use. But then on top of that, the people at the brand have to be people that kind of work with us culturally. Values are really, really important till we make movies. So they have to they don't necessarily have to take the values as seriously as we do, but they have to, in essence, live by a similar set of values. So that's also important.
Otherwise, you know, you kind of just don't want them around. Like,
exactly. Yeah, well, it won't be a win-win. I mean, ultimately, you won't end up with a win-win. You'll end up with somebody getting something great, possibly for them and them alone, and then the other party not getting anything. And that's typical of anything. Now, that you can correlate that between you and whatever film you're making. If you know people, like you are probably not going to get some massive connected DP to work on your independent film. You're probably not, but there's probably some really talented, young, fresh, hungry DP out there that needs the film. He needs the reel, you know, and likes the script and likes you know what I'm saying? Those are the types of deals you're going to want to make.
I've said multiple times that, like, if I know somebody whose skill level is at 90% and they're just an awesome person to work with, and just like culturally and like on set, they do really, really well in the kind of environment I like to create on set. And I know somebody else whose skill level is at 100%, but they're really hard to work with. I will take the other guy every single time, because like you in what you do, you should try to be doing it with the kind of people that you want to lend power to and like continue going along with.
We had a DIT on a thing that and he'll never watch this, so I'm not gonna mention him by name, but if he were to stumble upon this, he would probably know who I was talking about. But guaranteed, if he even stumbled upon it, he wouldn't watch it this far. So I'm safe. Anyway, he was so like, he made a comment early on. We went like we had gone over the limit just a teeny tiny bit, and he made this comment that made it pretty clear that he was definitely going to like report us. I mean, he didn't say it in those words, but he might as well have.
Right.
So I immediately went to the director and the producer. I took the rest of the production team and I said, look, this dude's gonna, you know, and I was like, I don't know this guy. I've never worked with him, but when somebody threatens me like that, you know what I mean? This is a sticky situation. We may want to find a replacement for the rest of the days. And it's not even that like we don't take advantage of people. Right. You know, we feed people well. If we go over, as much as possible, I try to do it only if it's okay with the department heads and their crew members and stuff like that. But we really, really, really try not to. And if we do, it's only like maybe 5-10 minutes at the most, you know, and then compensate them. But this is, you know, if you're constantly, I mean, he knew he was on a set that was where the money was coming out of one guy's pocket. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a network. This isn't, that's a different can of worms. If that's what you're doing, absolutely stick to those standards. But if you're doing a buddy a favor, that's, you know, I thought everybody there was doing this guy a favor, you know?
Right.
But anyway, so I will never work with that DIT ever again. Never, you know, and that's, you know, that's not because I want to take advantage of people. I have no interest in taking advantage of people. I want to create, and this is actually the important part.
Yeah.
You got to look at this as if you're creating the filmmaker partners that you're going to be working with for the rest of your career. Because, I mean, you look at the really, really successful people out there, they're working with the same people over and over, film after film, same DP, same art department. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you have to think of yourself. You have to, those are the kinds of relationships you need to be building now. You know, both with the actors and the things, because I mean, it's and obviously aesthetically, you want to make sure you're also kind of simpatico, but you definitely want to make sure that you like each other and that culturally you are similar, that you want to work with these people for the rest of your life. Because if you don't, you know, just move on. You know what I mean? Don't waste time with them just because you think they're talented. You know what I mean? If they make you feel like crap or whatever, just don't work with them. You know, I've had so many actors who've given me serious attitude, and I'm like an extremely, every actor that has ever worked with me. I mean, I don't know, maybe some of them have said stuff about me behind my back, but I've had so many of the actors that I've worked with say, I love working with you because you know how to talk to actors. I used to be an actor, so of course I know how difficult it is. So I don't play mind games with people. I don't do that kind of stuff when you hear, you know, like on Wall Street that Oliver Stone was like talking smack, you know, like just trying to get I can't remember the lead.
Create like a rivalry between the actors.
Well, because the actor, the main character was supposed to be a dick, and he was supposed to be really like all machismo and whatnot. And so he was playing those kinds of games, you know, and anyway, I'm not into that. I look at this as a craft. You know what I mean? It's not a circus. You know what I mean? It's a craft. I will consider you a craftsman, and I will talk to you in terms of your craft. Do you know what I'm saying? And in terms of the work that is required to make your craft, to, you know, that's my philosophy of a set. And so that's,
I just want to say also that like, this is something that if you don't already know how to like find these people and like kind of create that and culture and whatever, like it isn't something you can, I wouldn't say it's something you can do like before your first film. Like it's something you can only do by working with people over and over again, time after time, and going, I want him back on the next one. I want her back on the next one. I want them back on the next one. And like unsaid, when we did that was the closest to ideal that I've ever had it. Cause it was all people that I'd worked with before. And it was all people who Kendall lined up and was like, all these people. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And like, you know, like that's only something that I could have done after working with people for so long.
But it doesn't have to be your film. You know what I mean? Like you can, that's the thing.
Oh yeah,
that's
totally.
The advantage of working on other people's films is that then you can meet people that you love and you're going to be like, hey, I want you on mine as well. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. It does take, I mean, you're not going to meet these people if you're not actually working with them. But when you're
Kendall had never done like a project with me before that, right? Like I had only ever worked for Kendall.
Right. Yes. No,
and I was like, I like working for her, so I want to work with her very much.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, that's pretty much the extent of it. It's important for you. And the thing is that also don't think for half a second that I think that your culture, whatever your culture is, should be like my culture. It's not. Your culture should be your culture. Some people have really acerbic, senses of humor. I don't. But if that's who you are, that's who you should be on your sets. You should, you know what I'm saying? And you should find people like you. You should do, and even if they're not necessarily exactly like you, they should, you guys should be able to
click some way.
Yeah, you should click. You should have similar points of view. You should definitely have similar aesthetics.
Yeah. To use another example, some people know what acerbic means, and then there's me. Like
It's like sarcastic and kind of like a dick kind of sarcastic, but you know, some people are like that, and but anyway, so yeah, get your people together now. Even if you're in high school, you know what I mean? Even if you're watching this in high school, you'd be shocked at how many people have been working together since they were kids. You know, there are, and there's a reason for that. Not everybody you're working with right now is going to be with you in the long haul. Some of them may end up, you know, getting out of the business, becoming lawyers or whatever, you know, and that's fine, you know, but that's, you know, I just think that it's really key. And it all, at the end of the day, boils down to making win-win situations. And you have to know what they want before you can help to give them what they want.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's funny that you talk about this as something that you learn often in sales. It's something that I also hear people talk a lot about in like networking, which I've never really been into like networking as like a field, but I happen to have I don't know, like heard off to the side like a bunch of conversations about it in weird ways. And there's a piece of advice there that I think is really useful for this, which is don't try to use your network to don't look at your network as like how you can use it and how it can benefit you. Look at how your network members can benefit each other, because like that's one of the most valuable things in the world. If you know somebody is looking for a particular type of person, and you know that type of person, and you hook the two of them up, it benefits you not at all, but it benefits the two of them. That's great and amazing, and they remember that, and then you know,
And if you think about it, to some degree, another way of saying that same thing, which I completely 100% agree with, but another way to sort of even take it to the next step is like, what can I do for my network?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And hooking them up is a really good way. That's one really good way. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. That will be it for main topics. Yay! First
Yay!
2016.
Yay! Nice and quick. Nice and short.
It was.
Was it?
It was.
All right.
It was pretty fast.
Yeah. So community news.
Community news. As always, whether you're watching this live or listening afterwards on the audio feed, we would ask that you please go visit iTunes and rate the show. Ratings and reviews help other people find us, help grow the community, help everything, make everything more awesome. You've heard the spiel 1,000 times by now, so you know what's up. This is it this Wednesday? Yes. This Wednesday. We are having the Writers' Workshop, the big fat flagship event of We Make Movies. It is the second workshop at the new space, Melrose Light Space on Melrose and Curson. Is it Curson?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know how you pronounce it. I think it's Curson. Curson? Whatever.
Curson.
Yes.
7600 Melrose Avenue on the second floor. So come by, hang out, meet the community if you haven't met them already, and otherwise just come by, hear scripts read by people in the community. It's pretty awesome. And finally, We Make Movies is the only filmmaking community in the world, so far as we know, that is entirely supported by its community, and that happens at patreon.com. Patreon is a crowdfunding site like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, except instead of one big crowdfunding push, it's a voluntary subscription to artists you like so that they can keep producing the content that you want to enjoy. So you can go check us out at patreon.com/WeMakeMovies. You get to see all of the perks and benefits you get from becoming a supporter of the community, and you're pretty super awesome. And 70 cents of every dollar that gets put into the Patreon at this point goes towards a rolling production fund that funds actual films being made by the community. Do we have an update on that, on what's happening? I know we did one at the end of the year.
The problem is, you mean with the rolling production fund, or you mean the finals?
The finals.
The finals are going to be happening
last time, yeah.
The finals are going to be happening on February. February 17th. And more will come out on that. More will come out on that. But yeah, cool. There's some time. If you are a finalist, you will be getting some more info. If you're not a finalist, then just come by on February 17th. And if you're a member or a regular, you will be able to vote. If you are not a member or a regular, you still have time to become one.
Awesome. All right. More TBA. We end as always with things to know. Chad, what things should people know?
So this is totally off. It's not at all related to filmmaking, but it's because it's a thing to know, which I think we can do with things.
Yeah, totally. And mine has nothing to do with it at all.
When I was thinking about this earlier, thinking about talking about this, I was thinking like, It's going to sound like a commercial. This is not a commercial. This is actually a product that I'm actually into. Blue Apron. We just tried it. Blue Apron. Have you heard of Blue Apron before?
Not even a little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Blue Apron's this company. You pay like $60 a month and they send you a box of food, ingredients and stuff for 3 separate meals, each meal for 2 people, so that you can cook up your own, and it has instructions, and it's really like good stuff. It's really like, it's fresh stuff and it's organic, and I mean, it's, I don't know if it's organic, but there are some of these, there are competitors to Blue Apron that do organic only, but I don't, at any rate, it averages out to about $10 a meal per person, and it helps you like learn different ways of cooking, and it's healthy food and everything. It's really cool. I'm digging it. I think I'm going to stick with it. We'll see what happens.
So they give you the recipe as well?
Recipe and the exact.
I'm not part of the commercial either. I swear to God. That's totally.
There is no commercial.
And more?
I wish they were giving us money to say this. I just really like the product. BlueApron.com. Check it out if you want. There is also one other quick thing that I realized that I probably should have devoted a little bit more time to. Maybe not. There was a little, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Adam Carolla has said some really, really awful things about Hawaiian people. I happen to be Hawaiian. We've talked about this a lot.
Hasn't Adam Carolla said like a lot of awful things
about a lot of people? Yes.
I don't really like, yeah.
The Hawaiians are like pretty much, I mean, you see, no, he's the worst. Anyway, the company where I work, they have actually started they actually did, I don't know, they did some work for him. They were really cool about not, they actually gave me the day off the day he came into the office on them too. I didn't even have to make up one of my days. So they gave me the day off when he came in, and they haven't made me touch a single bit of the work because they knew it would have been very embarrassing, because then I would have been like, no, you're going to have to fire me before. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is all well and good because I didn't touch it or anything, but then they started to promote the fact that they had worked on this, which for me is extremely bad, because I'm very, very, very positive. I love the place where I work. They're a great company in general. This one thing I completely disagree with them on, but whatever. The fact that they started to promote it put me in a very specific situation, because based on what happened with the Hula app thing, I don't know, gathered some friends, and we have sort of a little bit of a force that I would like to be able to mobilize again in the future. And this is going to, this attachment is going to look really bad. So I wrote a whole article about it on my website, aaaaaand100k.com, iam100k.com. If you feel like checking it out, check it out. You can see exactly what he said and why I'm upset about it. If you're a fan of Adam Carolla, you should probably read it, but because you probably will not be a fan of him by the time you finish it. So anyway, yeah, sorry, that was a long story. iam100k.com.
Okay, cool. My thing to know is like even less related to filmmaking. I don't think I've talked about this on the show yet, but I just kind of want to let people know I'm moving soon-ish. In about 6 months, I'm going to be packing my bags and hitting the road and leaving LA for parts unknown. I mean, I know them, and a lot of people know them. There's people there. I'm not going out to the desert or in the middle of the woods or anything like that. I'm actually not.
Space? Are you going to space?
Please, I'm going to outer space.
Yes!
Outer space. I'm filming the sequel to Gravity, actually. It's a tremendous opportunity. I'm so grateful to Paramount for making this happen.
I want you to go to Mars. I want you to be one of the first colony families on Mars. Can we make that happen?
I would be very happy, and Megan would never agree to that. I would totally, I would be like, sign me the fuck up. Not gonna happen.
Damn it.
I'm not ready to announce where.
Megan.
Yeah, totally. Go for it. I'm not ready to announce where I'm moving yet, because we are taking one more exploratory trip to check out another location. But we're pretty positive at this point, but we are going to check out one more spot. So I don't want to say where it is and then change it a couple of months down the road. But yeah, if you want to meet up with me in LA before I go, you should definitely come to the next We Make Movies things, because after I go, then I'm going to have to start a We Make Movies chapter wherever I end up landing. So yay. And that's it for the show. I'm so out of practice doing this that came abruptly, and I was not prepared for it. But I will call an end to this week's episode of the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us online at wemakemovies.org. I'm Garrett Robinson. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Chad is online at superfreako.com, and I am 100k.com. And we will see you next week, everybody. Goodbye.